Friday, the final day of the week. These are the voyages of the program Unsportsmanlike Conduct. Its ongoing mission to explore strange new movies, to seek out new bits and new edifications, to boldly go where no radio program has gone before. Elkent's Movie Club. It's Elkent's Movie Club. Elkent's Movie Club. It's Elkent's Movie Club.
How you doing this Friday, Kent?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Not
Good.
bad. We're 2 weeks away from the National Basketball Association.
Yes, we are. If they all don't get COVID between now and then.
Let's knock on wood.
Or if they all don't order carry out.
Or if they go pick it up themselves. Yeah, don't do that.
This week's movie was Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I'd
Mhm.
never seen it. So this was nice. You know, Josh, you hadn't seen it in a long time.
Yeah, since I was a kid.
I had never seen it. It just it was early 90s. That was back in
88.
88. That's right. Thank you.
The year I was born.
Yeah.
Same stitch.
Basically from 88 to 94 was a bad time for me going to see movies. For just where I was.
College and poor and
Yeah, all of that.
Yeah.
But so this was kind of fun to see something that, had a big pop culture influence and was a revolutionary movie for its time.
yeah.
And then to get a chance to finally see it. So it was fun. So I look forward to the conversation today.
Yeah.
Kent, did anything change for you upon the rewatch? Because, it's been 32 years.
Well, the answer to that is no, for a couple reasons. First, I discovered after thinking for about 15 seconds after the show last week, I have that on DVD, actually. Blu-ray.
So you didn't have to worry about the sign up for Disney
I
Plus.
didn't have to do anything except go dig through a box of DVDs and Blu-rays till I found it.
Good.
So I probably watched it most recently, not that long ago, 2 or 3 years, which, doesn't sound like sounds like a long time until you compare it to 30. So,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
and that's one reason. The other reason is I wrote quite a bit about the movie then, including I interviewed Jeffrey Katzenberg the year after it came out. He was the head of Disney Animation at the time, and then went on to be the head of DreamWorks. But Katzenberg was the guy who kind of put himself on the line to get the money to finish making this because it was such an expensive movie. And so I kind of knew a lot about it going in, and that kept anything from sort of becoming new, if that makes any sense. And it's really, A, it's a really good movie. B, the technical achievement is what everybody talked about when it first came out. But the other thing, I guess, and this maybe did strike me, this movie would never be made today because it's too darkish, film noir-ish for little kids, right? You're not going to make an animated movie about adultery, murder, political
Alcoholism.
everything else, and put it out, to the audience that's there to see the Minions or whoever, right? And adults aren't likely to buy into a cartoon anymore, even though much of what they watch is CGI and a cartoon in that sense. The other thing that you need to know about this is all hand animation. There's no computer anything
Incredible.
there. And they had to jump through some serious hoops, including rebuilding a specific type of camera in order to be able to do this.
Ken, I wanted to ask you what you remember from like the production leading up to it, in terms of like how it was talked about and maybe some of the things that you were expecting going into it? Because like I'd forgotten that Bugs Bunny and Mickey Mouse were in the same scene together. I'd forgotten about Donald and Daffy Duck being in the same scene together, and reading up on it on Wikipedia, the former was the first time that those two had ever been in a scene together. And so all of the work to get all of these characters in the movie, what do you remember about that process leading up to it?
Well, the difference between then and now is you didn't have the 3-month run up to a movie. You had like a 2-week run up to a movie.
Sure.
Right? The whole marketing and all that was not done so far in advance. You didn't have 8 bazillion, shows that they were on. So all of this kind of came at once. And the things that I recall is, the live action mixed with animation, which had been done before, but not at this level. And as you talked about, all the characters from the different movies, but also this was kind of, this came out in sort of the down period for Disney and for animation in general. And so this was talked about in some sense of a way to bring animation back. And in fact, is what it did, because following this came Little Mermaid, and then sort of the renaissance of Disney animation, and then Pixar, and where we are now. So those were the things that were kind of talked about beforehand. But that was also back in the day when I would see movies like 3 weeks to a month before they came out. And that was because I was going to what they called exhibitor screenings, which were screenings for the people that run the movie theaters to decide whether they wanted to book movies. And those screenings were weeks before press screenings, but they held them in Lincoln, and most of the press screenings were in Omaha. So the movie companies sort of went, if you're a good boy and don't run the reviews early, you can go see these screenings in Lincoln. So I'd seen the movie before all the hype came out.
Ah,
interesting.
I guess if there was one thing, now, first of all, I enjoyed it. It was good. I liked the fact that it had it had a unique combination because of the animation of the animation humor that I grew up with Looney Tunes.
Kind of slapsticky.
The slapsticky stuff, but also the serious, kind of a serious side to it.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of adult jokes with, with that part of the story.
Yeah. The booby trap joke was one that got me.
I love the, real fast, sorry, the scotch on the rocks. And I mean, good. Ice. I remember that as a kid, not understanding it. And like years later, it just popped into my brain, and I was like, oh, that's pretty funny. And so when it happened in the movie, I laughed out loud the other day.
If there was one thing that distracted me, it was the
Jessica Rabbit.
Yeah, that was what I was going to say.
Yeah, I mean, well, in a way. But Bob Hoskins, the overdub of his voice was a little distracting to me, because, I mean, this is an English actor. Now, I think it's still him doing the voice, but you could tell that at least it sounded to me, I don't know what you thought, Kent, but it sounded to me they went back into the studio and redid the lines, and I don't know, it just had that, it didn't have that natural sound to it at times. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. I didn't notice that much on the copy that I had, so I don't, but I'm sure they had to go back in and redo some of the dialogue, simply because the actual making of the movie, right? They would shoot the film and like when he's wrestling with the rabbit, he's actually was wrestling with like a dummy that was made to look like the rabbit. And they had to position everything. So if one of the animated characters was holding a prop and it was going to be a real thing, they had to position everything. So when the animation came on, it covered up what was actually filmed down below. Right. So that was a real trick, and you're going to lose some of your on-set dialogue doing that. So right. I'm sure they had to go back in and redo much of the dialogue.
And that was, I mean, nowadays, almost all dialogue
Yes.
is redone.
Right, but it was just the way it was done. It just sounded to me, maybe it was just the
and
way
back
I was
then it
listening to
wasn't done like that nearly as much.
No.
Right.
And so they weren't probably as good at it. I didn't notice it with him, but I did notice a couple times with just some random, secondary characters that didn't even have names. Like there was one guy that walked by him and said something to him, and it was way off from his mouth. And I took classes for that kind of stuff in the school I went to, so I always notice those things and kind of enjoy spotting those little spots of it. But I did notice it a couple times in that too.
Now, and there are some level problems with
I watched it late at night, and I was moving the volume up and down constantly because I couldn't hear the dialogue, so I turn it way up, and then something cartoony would happen and would explode, and my apartment would shake, and I had to turn it back down real quick.
I had the same issue, especially early in the film. I did not realize though that Harrison Ford was the original choice to play that character.
Yeah.
Chevy Chase turned it down.
That would have been interesting.
Bill Murray was considered,
but he was doing something else. Is that what it was?
It was either that or just Bill Murray. Bill Murray is notoriously hard to get a hold of at times.
Yeah.
Eddie Murphy later regretted not doing more to try to get the role.
Scrooged was in '88. He may have been doing that. Bill Murray.
Robin Williams was on the. I mean, there were a lot. Robert Redford was on the list.
Wow.
And it ends up going to Bob Hoskins, who had been in some films, but was not like.
I would have rather had any of those other people. Like, no offense to Hoskins, but I would have rather had any of those other actors.
But it does make you wonder, how much does that movie change if with a big name actor like Harrison Ford or Eddie Murphy?
However, those big name actors, Bob Hoskins was a very, very, very skilled actor.
Yes.
And doing the stuff that he had to do, this was before all the green screen acting that people do now, right? So he's having to imagine what he's seeing, deal with these dummies, all of that. I frankly am not sure that somebody like Eddie Murphy could do that. This was some serious, I mean, it's not his very best performance, but that was some serious acting that he did there, but to be able to do all of those things and still come off convincingly. The other thing that I liked about it at the time is he wasn't one of the big name actors, so you didn't get pulled into Jack Nicholson playing Jack Nicholson in this character.
Agreed.
Or Harrison Ford playing Harrison Ford in this character. You got a guy that you didn't come in with a bunch of preconceptions about.
So I find it interesting talking to you about this movie because you saw it as an adult. Meanwhile, Stibbs and I saw it when we were kids, and now we're watching it as an adult. How do you think they did it balancing the kid stuff versus the adult stuff? Because I liked it. I didn't like it as much as I remembered liking it. And I honestly think that part of that was, as a kid, I liked like Roger Rabbit being a weirdo, and I found myself much more annoyed by him this time around. Whereas I loved the adult stuff as a kid, I was kind of in on, and when I watched it on Tuesday night, I was way in on all of the adult humor and that type of storyline.
At the time, okay, I think it was about as perfect a balance as you were going to get for that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe today it doesn't quite have that level, simply because people have done the same concept, perhaps done it a little better.
Yeah.
And at the time, I think it was about as well done as it could have been. And what I really like about it still is that it has that, film noir-ish story that's, I mean, pick a film noir that people, Chinatown might be the one that would be most easily defined, but all the way back into the 50s, and you take that with the femme fatale and the private eye and all of those things, and you stick it into this animated context, and you still pull it off. That was a really quite a job in by the screenwriters to start with, and then by Robert Zemeckis directed this. We should give credit where credit is due.
Yeah.
And he did it was such a really, I guess, managed to tell an adult story that kids would attach to. That's hard to do. And And the other thing that I thought was truly tells you how this movie has endured. Everybody still knows who Jessica Rabbit is.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that is so true because
yeah, even you knew who she was and you hadn't seen the movie.
Yeah, because that was that definitely a show stealer anytime that she was on the scene.
Can I ask you a question real fast, John?
Yeah.
Don't mean to interrupt, but what did you think of the Christopher Lloyd
reveal? I was just
because I love that. I think that part of the movie it holds up very well. That he ends up being a cartoon. I think that is a great part of the movie.
It is because then it also makes sense as to why his teeth were so damn white. Because it was almost distracting. First of all, I enjoyed Christopher Lloyd in that role, and it was his relationship with Zemeckis on Back to the Future that basically got him that part. But he was perfect in that role. He can play that over the top character, especially in that role. But it made a lot of sense because that was every time he was on the screen, they must have put some prosthetic there because the very pointed chin and the very white big teeth were just it was almost distracting at times. So when they revealed him to be a toon at the end, it was like, okay, well, this makes perfect sense. But I thought Christopher Lloyd was really good too.
Great evil person.
Yes.
And it's one of the times where he's played a straight up villain, right? He really usually is a little nuttier than that, right? Or a little and he talks about, I've seen interviews with him that he thinks that's one of his best performances. And it's one of the things that he had the most fun doing. Which is interesting.
Yeah, the only other he played in the third Star Trek movie, he played one of the Klingons.
Oh, really?
And that's who he said he modeled that was where he based the Doom character off of, was the Klingon.
My friend and I always used to have fun with it because, of course, we remember Christopher Lloyd originally as Jim from Preacher Jim from Taxi, where he played just and he always his famous line was "Okie doke," and so we would always recite lines from the Star Trek movie, and it would always end with "So, Jim Kirk, you won't give me the Genesis project?" Okie doke. We would just have fun with it because it was Christopher Lloyd, but I thought he was really good in this.
How great a show was Taxi? You had him. You had Andy Kaufman. DeVito. That was a great sitcom.
It's got to be streaming somewhere. I'm almost wanting to go because I popped in and out of Taxi a lot because
it's on Hulu,
based on because it was out in the late 70s, early 80s. But I would like to go back and rewatch some of that.
Hulu and Amazon Prime with a subscription you can watch for free.
Oh.
I've got Amazon Prime. I might do that. I might go back and rewatch Taxi because
that's a hell of a cast.
It was a very good cast, and it was kind of a sitcom that was ahead of its time.
Way ahead of its time, and it had Andy Kaufman, who is, in my view, was a genius. And I know a lot of people think he was completely horrible, but
no, he was a genius. And it was the show that made Danny DeVito famous.
Absolutely.
Because no one had never heard of him before, and he was the one that, really, well, he and Tony Danza did too. Your
boy Tony.
Yeah. And this might surprise you. I
believe
and
Tony Danza and Christopher Lloyd worked together again in a classic film, Angels in the Outfield.
Oh my God.
Wow. What, Kent, you don't like that? Oh, you don't like Angels in the Outfield, Kent?
Stupid.
Well, that's a remake, by the way.
Is it? Yeah, it is. You didn't know that?
There was a earlier movie, I can't remember what it was called, but it was essentially the same movie. Yeah.
Interesting.
And I believe wasn't Tony Danza's character in Taxi also named Tony?
Yes, he was.
Yeah, see, because again, he has to be Tony in everything because he can't answer anything else.
Anyway. Yeah, 1951. It was called Angels in the Outfield.
Wow, I had no idea.
Who was the star?
I
want to say it was someone
Paul Douglas and Janet Leigh.
Well, Janet Leigh from
I think it's anything to do with baseball, though.
Yeah, that was before she got terrorized by the birds, I believe.
Yeah, and hacked up in the shower.
Yeah.
Hey, Kent, before we pick next week's movie, have you had a chance to watch Palm Springs yet on Hulu? The Andy Samberg movie.
I have not.
Oh man, I'm the only one in the studio who has watched it. I highly, highly recommend it. I wish that it was on Netflix because I would basically force Stibbs to pick that for next week. I think you will love it. I think our listeners will love it. It. I don't want to say like anything about it except that it is a play on the Groundhog Day kind of feel. But that's all I will say. That's the only thing I knew going into it.
Well, Stibbs, the choice is yours.
All right, I'm trying to decide between three. They're all on Netflix. I kind of want to. I haven't seen any of them, so I'm cool with any of them. I'd like to do one that most of us have not seen, especially Kent. I like finding movies Kent hasn't watched. This one you probably did. I never saw the Christian Bale movie Hostiles.
Yes, I saw it.
You guys seen it?
No, never heard of it.
It's a Western.
It's a Western. Heard it was awesome. I also have not seen the it's the Bong Joon-ho movie on Netflix. Okja, is that how you say it? OKJA?
Yeah, I've seen that. I have not seen that one. I've seen the title.
Or The Ritual, which is a Netflix horror movie.
Oh, just looking at John.
I'm
Stibbs, your call. I mean, it's your movie.
Have you seen The Ritual, Kent?
I have not.
Okay, I want to do The Ritual or Okja. Let's do the Okja one because it's got great reviews. There's Jake Gyllenhaal's in it, Paul Dano's in it, and it's the guy who did Parasite. So I'm intrigued.
Yeah, all right, director. So sure.
Yeah.
All right. Sweet. Okja it is, or Okja.
A movie that you can't pronounce.
It's on Netflix.
It's on Netflix.
All right. Well, there it is. Another foray into the movie club. Okja is our film next week. It's streaming on Netflix. Kent, enjoy the hat. Enjoy the shirt today.
It's plenty warm. This works outside.
Yeah.
Kent looks like Dotson from Jurassic Park. The guy that the guy meets at the beginning. He goes, "We got Dots in here."
Yes, he does.
We got the exact same outfit on. That guy does. Who brings him a Barbasol can?
Doesn't he get consumed by a dinosaur?
Everyone does.
Yeah.
I think he did. Yeah. I think he did. So stay away from the T-Rex and stay out of the heat. We'll see you next week, Kent.
Thanks.
There he is, Kent Wolgamott of Lincoln Journal Star. By the way, Bryson DeChambeau.
Oh my God!
What did he get on that hole?
A 10. Let's go. 10s are okay now because professionals are getting 10s.
I saw a picture on Twitter because I couldn't follow shot by shot of someone who goes, he has a wood club out and he's on his 7th shot.
Yes,
that shows you how far away he still is and that he's 7 shots in.
Yeah, I lost track of why. I'm pretty sure he took a penalty stroke.
He did right off the bat, so he was hitting 3 from his second shot. Sure.
Well, but he basically on that shot with the wood, he went from one side of the rough or one side of the fairway into the deep rough to the other, and the ball ended up right underneath a wrought iron fence. So he had to take a lie there, and then finally, got to the green. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was arguing with the
was he arguing?
He was arguing. So we were talking to Kent, so I don't have a full.
I saw that he was talking.
He was arguing with the rules official, I think, for like 5 minutes about that. If it's out of bounds, I think he might have hit a provisional, or he wanted to hit a provisional. 20. So here we go. Mustache Adam, thank you very much. He tweeted us the amount of time that this hole took him from no laying up. 26 minutes, 4 commercial breaks. He used 3 3-woods from the rough. 2 balls went out of bounds. 2 rules officials had to be called over. 2 putts, 1 penalty area, 10 strokes.
Awesome.
And,
we missed it. We had fun with Kent, but too bad it wasn't the hole before.
Oh, that scorecard. I'm looking at it right now. So when you get a 10, you get 2 squares around it and a bunch of diagonal lines.
Never seen it before. That's awesome.
I will retweet it right now.
His body language isn't good here. He missed the water, but on this par 3, he's way offline.
He's 6 over now.
Yeah. He's
and that was that the hole he started with, that horrible drive when I went? Oh my gosh.
Did you see his caddy purposefully blocking the camera there? That was interesting.
No,
as they were walking off the tee, the caddy was looking right down at him and wasn't moving. He was like blocking the camera angle to Bryson. They are such whiners.
Sean says Hostiles is unreal. You have to do that soon. My go-to plane movie all the time back when flying was a thing. Well, thank you, Sean. Good to
Okay.
know
Yeah,
for
I
the
heard really
future.
good things about it.
I like good westerns. You know, when westerns are done well, I'm in on westerns.
This would be our second Western.
It would. I know. I was thinking.
Maybe
wow,
you should pick it next week, John.
Pick what?
Actually, don't, because I'll be gone.
Oh,
Hostiles.
Oh, you'll be gone next week.
Oh, that's right. So, yeah. Why did I pick it?
Yeah. Well.
Oh, well.
Do you have a backup? Do you want to flip it around?
No.
Okay, you can call in from vacation, Stibbs.
Maybe I will.
All right, that'd be fun. You
I'm
could
not
hop on.
doing
Can you
much.
hop on the video? That'd be fun.
I usually take my computer, so yeah.
Yeah?
I mean, I could do it on my phone too
Yeah.
now, I guess.
All right,
so
cool. I mean, you don't have to if you don't want to.
Do you
we'll see
know
what I'm doing? I don't have any plans while we're out there. So
Do you know what's coming up shortly?
I do.
the happy hour, 1 Beer Friday.
Yep. You're right on both counts.
Thanks.
Coming up, 1620 The Zone.
Zone, taste of our takes. Severe and Benning in the morning.
One step up,
Yeah.
but they're both